Welcome, folks, to the C Championship 2021 Draw Show. I'm Brandon Gavinson O, and with me here is Lennon Omo. We're so excited for today's draws and hoping for some dream brackets along the way. Feeling good to talk today, Omo?
Yeah, I'm excited for sure. I'm hoping we get some group of deaths, and I'm excited to see who gets placed in them, honestly.
Yes, love to see when teams just have to struggle with all their might to stay afloat in a very scary group. But that being said, let's take a look at the 12 teams that will be joining us in the play-ins. We have 3 from the Vietnamese region, Divine, Saigon Phantom, and Team Flash. From the Thailand region, we have Buriram United and Invade Esports. From the Taiwan region, we have Flash Rolls and LFD. From the Malaysian region, we have Bajaya Dragons. From the Philippines region, we have Fennel Adversity. From the Indonesian region, we have Boom Esports. From the Hong Kong region, we have QWQ. And of course, from the Singapore region, we have Team Banana. But let's put that behind us for now for a quick refresher on how the C Championship play-ins are going to play out.
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna get 3 groups, and in each group, we're basically only gonna have one survivor being the champion of the group. And of course, it's gonna be 12 teams. They're gonna be seeded into 3 different brackets, and we have a maximum of 1 region per bracket, which means that the Vietnamese teams are going to be spread across all 3 groups. Now, if a team of the same region is drawn into the same bracket, that team must be seeded into the next bracket, and a new team will be randomly drawn into the existing one. So that means no 2 teams from the same region can be in the same bracket.
Yeah, this is especially important for teams for the Vietnamese region, for the Thailand region, with multiple at the same time. I think Taiwan region as well. And that's also based on the previous performance in the Summer Super Cup. So we're seeing some new faces, some previous faces that we've already got to know and love. That being said, though, we're going to go into our first draw for bracket A, the very first team going into this. This is so exciting. And to kickstart things off, there's a lot running on how bracket A is going to pan out off this.
Yeah, for sure. I'm holding my breath right now because the first team that is going to be seeded is going to be...
Divine Esports Vietnam.
Ooh.
Divine Esports, the second seed from the Vietnam region. How fitting. They're also the team with the second most player MVPs in the playoff season. And the Vietnamese region has been absolutely wild and are ready to run amok in the play-ins.
Yeah, the Vietnam region is super stacked. Of course, Divine Esports, they went to 5 games against SBTC in the grand final. So this team is definitely one of the front runners for, I would say, the whole tournament as a whole, not just the play-in stages. And that makes them such a scary first opponent here in Group A.
The Vietnamese region has been shaping up to be an incredibly dominant one, and I think a lot of teams are starting to worry and wonder how they're going to prepare against the Vietnamese region. With that being said, we're going to go into our second draw for Group B now, Bracket B in this playing stage. Bracket A already sees the first team from the Vietnamese region. That means that the rest will have to be shifted around. I'm quite curious to who's going to end up in Bracket A with such a scary opponent. Let's take a look at Bracket B though.
Fennel Adversity, Philippines.
Fennel Adversity from the Philippines region. The Philippines region's second seed. They came out looking strong despite stiff competition from the region, which, fun fact, consists of only Filipino players. That's how much faith they have in players in the region.
Yeah, and it also goes to show how stacked their talent pool is. Philippines have so many players being exported overseas, and they still have such a stacked playoffs bracket here. I think if you take a look at the playoffs bracket from the Philippines, right, there's a bunch of teams that you would say could have qualified here today, but at the end of the day, it is Fennel Adversity. Of course, I do think that Team Secret seem like a cut above the rest of the teams in the PH, but Fennel Adversity is definitely the clear second runner-up, and that makes them such an intimidating force here in Group B.
You have to be worried about Fennel Adversity. I think a lot of teams are starting to respect Southeast Asia as probably one of the strongest regions for Wild Rift right now, and the Philippines definitely at the forefront of that conversation. That being said, let's take a look at the draw for Bracket C now. Going into this one, we've already had a powerhouse for the Vietnamese region in Bracket A and a powerhouse of the Philippine region in Bracket B, Bracket C. Let's see how this one starts off.
QWQ, Hong Kong.
QWQ from the Hong Kong region, the second seed out from that region, won the hearts of many in the previous Summer Super Cup, playing their hearts out. They're looking to do the same again. I think one of the key factors that they had was that adorable logo. I know you're smitten with it as well.
I'm a fan. Yeah, I'm definitely a fan. And of course, like you mentioned, right, QWQ in the previous Summer Super Cup, they didn't do all too great. They didn't manage to make it out of groups, right? But with that said, they had a super stacked group. So here today, I think honestly, we had to see the standard of the opponents that they have. I wouldn't put them as a front runner to get out of Group C, but I would say that they're definitely no slouches, and that's a team that you cannot underestimate.
So let's take a look back at Group A, the next drawing here. We already see QWQ start things off in Bracket C, which should mean a slightly more favorable group for a lot of these teams. I think a lot would prefer to go up against QWQ as opposed to Divine Esports, for example, in Bracket A. We'll see who the opponents are going to be.
Saigon Phantom, Vietnam.
Saigon Phantom from the Vietnam region. Unfortunately, this means they will be pushed to Bracket B instead. They cannot join Divine Esports in Bracket A, but Saigon Phantom, still an incredibly powerful team from the Vietnam region. The first runner-up in the regular season was an unfortunate playoffs run that saw them take third seed for the Vietnam region as a whole, but make no mistake, there's a reason why Vietnam has 4 seeds.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a very stacked region, and every single playoff team from Vietnam is going to be a force to be reckoned with. With that said, though, Group B is shaping up to be maybe the possible group of death here today. We have PH number 2 and Vietnam number 3 to start things off. This is going to be a tough group to get out of.
Early to call, but I definitely see where you're coming from. It's going to be scary for whoever the opponents are going to face off against. But that being said, let's take a look back at Group A again to see who is going to go up against potentially Divine Esports in the next match in the bracket. But this is going to be, again, for Group A.
Buriram United Esports, Thailand.
Buriram United Esports from the Thailand region. That's a big opponent. The second seed from the Thailand region. Their returning face for Wild Rift fans who during the regular season went undefeated in 9 series. They only dropped 1 game. They lost the fewest games across the entire regular season for every Icon series across Southeast Asia. They are such a powerhouse. Group A, I think you called it a little bit too early. Group A might looks a little bit scarier than Group B now.
To be honest, with so many strong teams here, we could see 2 group of deaths. That's entirely possible here today. And with Group A having both Vietnam number 2 and Thailand number 2, that's also another group that I probably wouldn't want to be a part of. And I think something we got to keep in mind as well is Team Flash has not been drawn yet. So that's the bottom seed from Vietnam. That's their last place, 4th place seed. And they have to be seeded into Group C now. So, you know, maybe we're starting to see a group of life come out.
Cheating their way into Group C, making sure that, like you said, that we do have some form of outs. There is a way for teams to have an easier way through. We're going to take a look at our draw for Group C now. Maybe it could just be Team Flash organically making their way in there. Otherwise, whichever team goes in there. Pool is starting to shrink now. A lot of the second seeds from multiple big regions in Wild Rift have already shown their heads in brackets A and B.
Team Flash, Vietnam.
And there we go, right? They have to be in Group C.
The Prophet Omo himself goes into Group C organically. Doesn't even have to worry about the trickle-down rule.
Yeah, exactly.
They will be playing off against QWQ in the later stage of Bracket C. Very interesting place for things to end up. QWQ from the Hong Kong region. Not necessarily the biggest opponent, and the 4th seed from the Vietnam region. Honestly, the best possible opponent you could have already hoped for coming from the Vietnam region. Things are shaping up a bit better in Group C.
Yeah, I would not want to play against any team from the Vietnamese region just because how stacked they are. But, you know, if I had a choice, I would take the 4th seed.
Let's take a look back at Bracket A again to see where things are going to end up, as things are shaping out to be a pretty scary Group A, as well as Group B. So if we can get rid of some strong opponents now, we might just see Group C end up so much easier.
Invade Esports Thailand.
Okay, Invade Esports, I believe that Buriram United Esports were already in bracket A, so I think this will trickle them down to bracket B instead. So the third seed from the Thailand region, and remember, both the Thailand region and the Taiwan region will get 3 seeds after performance from the Summer Super Cup. Invade Esports narrowly missed out the chance to play regionally during the summer split, so definitely feel like they have something to prove now.
Yeah, and we're starting to see Group B shape up to be a pretty tough one as well. You got Saigon Phantom, you got Fano Adversity, and now you get Invade Esports. This is gonna be a pretty tough group to get out of. I mean, I feel like we're saying that a lot, right? But that's just based on the nature of how strong so many of these teams are. I think the big name, and something I want to point out we have not seen yet, is Flash Wolves have not been drawn yet. Imagine saying that Flash Wolves are gonna be here in play-ins. It's gonna be such a tall task for whichever group they end up in. For the sake of, like balancing out the competitive feel a bit, I kind of hope that it will be Group C, but we'll have to wait and see.
So let's take a look back at bracket A because, pushing them down, Invade Esports in bracket B. Bracket A is missing a third spot now. Yep. So if we get Flash Wolves right
Don't
out
be
the
Flash Wolves.
Don't be Flash Wolves. Well, very powerful opponent. Group C would have dodged.
Boom Esports, Indonesia.
Boom Esports from the Indonesian region. They had a solid run in the lower brackets of the Indonesian region Icon Series to secure their place in the competition, and a brand new team in the Indonesian region, I believe. They have some very interesting mechanics and macro plays that are brought in and have elevated the Indonesian Icon Series. I'm looking forward to see how they're going to play it out in bracket A.
Yeah, but with that said, I think the teams in bracket A can kind of breathe a sigh of relief, because in terms of which teams are still left available to be drawn, I think you would be happy with Boom Esports rather than something like a Flash Wolves. Now, that's not to say Boom Esports are, gonna be an easy opponent here. I don't think there's any team you can underestimate, and even teams like Boom Esports can be very capable dark horses. With a double elimination format, you have to be very careful about how you approach every single game.
So let's take a look at our next draw now. Going into bracket C in the play-ins, still have a few teams from the Taiwanese region that haven't been drawn yet. So that could be it. Statistically, I think we have a high chance of seeing that here.
Yeah, I think there's only 4 balls left there, so we might see a Taiwanese team come out.
Banana, Singapore.
And of course, it will be Team Banana from the Singapore region.
Homeboys.
And watch your step, because the Singapore region second seed is looking to slip up the best in the competition, making their first appearance in an international competition. This is an exciting one to see, but once again, Group C looking pretty healthy. You have quite a couple of odds here.
Yeah.
I think if you're a fan of any of your teams going to Group C, you have pretty high expectations overall.
Well, as a Singaporean, right, I'm not going to say I have high hopes for Banana, but I would say this is the least bad group they could have gotten. Team Flash, for now, still looking like the front runners in this group, I would have to say. But we'll have to see if any other strong teams get placed in, right? Like you mentioned, we still do have 2 Taiwan region teams not drawn yet, and it's still very possible for them to end up here in Group C.
So let's see how things are going to play out. We're going back into Group A first, or Bracket A rather, because we still have 1 more spot there. Like you mentioned, 2 out of 3 statistically. We should see some Taiwanese teams appear at this point, right? And how that's going to go, I think will dictate grouping as well.
Not Flash Wolves.
Riot Dragons, Malaysia.
Riot Dragons from the Malaysian region. Interesting one. To nobody's surprise, the Malaysian region's second seed will be joining in the C Championships, and with some new faces, they're looking to show a new and improved Malaysian region as well.
Yeah, definitely, and they will be ending up here in Bracket A. I think we kind of expected this to be a bit of a death group, right? But for now, I think we do see 2 clear front runners here. Divine and Buriram look to be the front runners in this group, and it might just come down to these 2 teams. Of course, Riot Dragons and Boom Esports will try to be the dark horses of this race and try to upset them for the one singular slot into the group stages.
like you mentioned, it's a tough opponent across the board. At least in Group A, the first two matches seem to be pretty clear. We can expect some kind of a reversal maybe. Hard to say. That being said, though, we're gonna go and take a look at the bracket B now.
Oh man.
At this point, I believe we're just down to the two Taiwanese teams. 100% statistically to see a Taiwanese team at this point, Obo. We've dodged them all the way to the end. Let's see which one we're gonna get.
Flash
Oh
Wolves,
no.
Taiwan.
Flash
Oh,
Wolves
no.
from the Taiwan region. Flash Wolves share dominance in a duopoly with the first seed, and they have a huge legacy, and I here to prove themselves again. And I think you have hit it right on its head.
Yeah.
Group B is dead. The time
Yeah.
of death
That's right.
is called right now, I think.
Do I hear Group of Death right now for Group B? I mean, Fenno Adversity, Invade Esports, Saigon Phantom, Flash Wolves. You don't get more stacked than that. You honestly don't. And I think all of these teams can stand a decent shot at honestly making a deep run in playoffs in the main stage of this event, not just the play-ins. This is such a stacked group, and it goes to show how many excellent teams we have here.
That being said, we're down to our final team in bracket C, and spoiler alert, I think we know which team that's going to be. It's the final team out from the Taiwan region. A couple of expectations there, but the way things have been shaping up, it's going to be interesting.
Looking for Daddy, Taiwan.
So LFD for the Taiwan region, drawing a clear line in the Taiwan Legend Championship. LFD held their own against the powerhouses in the region and looking to do the same in the C Championship. So this is an exciting one, I think, but Group C, Bracket C, is shaping up one that you might see some unexpected teams slip by.
I think all of these teams in Bracket C right now are breathing a sigh of relief. They are happy with the opponents that they've gotten, and I think it really can't get much better than this. Honestly, if you swap Flash Wolves and LFD around, we might see something a little bit more exciting start to shape out in the groups, but just because of the nature of how intense these competitions are, you slip up once, you're done for. I think you would, be really happy that you are in Bracket C.
We do still see the double elimination format. So, slip up once, you have some chance, some wiggle room to get back into the competition. It's not entirely over. Let's take a look back at Bracket A again and how this one is shaped up. Things were looking scary to start things off. Divine Esports and Buriram United, two very strong teams from their regions, and now paired together with Boon Esports and Bajai Dragons. They really have to play the hard sell to take games off of them. So moving into Bracket B now as well, I think you can take this away, Omo. I'm sure you have some choice words for this.
Choice words indeed. Fenno Adversity, Invade Esports, Saigon Phantom, Flash Wolves. This is, I'm going to call it right now, this is the Group of Death. And honestly, all of these teams are going to have to play their hearts out to advance to the main stage of the event.
And moving into Bracket C, it's a bit of a toss-up. Hard to tell which team is going to come up ahead. All of them have their quirks, their own personality, and their own play style. Very difficult to say which team is going to come up ahead in this competition, but Bracket C overall, if you're a fan of any of these four teams, you are definitely most happy to see them in this bracket.
Yeah, it's going to be a very exciting one as well for sure, but I think it's exciting for different reasons to Group B. This group, we don't know who's going to advance. I think every team here has a fair shot. I mean, I think you probably say Team Flash, LFD, maybe QWQ have a leg up on maybe the teams like Banana, but I think really any team has a realistic chance to make it out here.
Really only just talking about the one team, right?
Honestly.
That they have a leg up on. But and to round things off, let's take a look at the schedule going into the competition. The very first stage of the play-ins, Divine Esports and Boom Esports to kickstart the day off. Buriram United and Bajai Dragons follows after, and then Fenno Adversity versus Invade Esports. Stacked teams to kickstart the C Championship 2021. I'm looking forward to this one.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get some super exciting games for sure. Game 1 is a bit of a David and Goliath thing going on. Game 2, we want to see how strong Buriram United is coming into the C Champs. Game 3, we get to see PH number 2 against Thai number 3. This is gonna be a very exciting one for sure as well to see how these two regions will match up.
Absolutely. We get a lot of information based on how the first day plays out, and then we get to see where the approximate power levels are going to be. But with that being said, folks, that's it for the C Championship 2021 draw show. Are you happy with where your favorite team ended up? Let us know your thoughts and join us on the 14th of September where myself, Omo, and the rest of the cast team will be there to bring you all the action. Peace out.